Well, it's the month of Valentine's, the traditional month of love, of course, and it's also the first Sunday of Lent, so I wanted to combine the two themes of love and Lent today. Traditionally, Lent is, as many of you who used to be Catholic and Episcopalian know, it's a time of fasting. In unity, many of us pledge to give up negativity for Lent. In fact, many New Thought centers have the theme of let's eliminate negative thought, L-E-N-T, for Lent. But with Lent so close to Valentine's this year, I prefer the idea of love eliminates negative tribulations, because when we love, negativity just naturally dissipates by itself. Many of us also take advantage of this Lenten 40-day process to prepare ourselves for our Easter spiritual resurrection. Now, exoterically, Easter is about participating in the death and resurrection of Jesus. Esoterically and metaphysically, though, Easter is about each of us going through our many death experiences that we all have in our lifetimes, like dying to our old identity, our old way of being, and being born into a brand new identity, an identity of oneness with universal spirit, with God. We thus prepare for our personal resurrection at Easter time, a restoration of mind and body through following the eternal laws, or what we at Unity call truth. Now, during Lent, many people fast by giving up something like a negative habit or a thing or a behavior, something that's not good for them on a spiritual level, because our bodies and our minds are both part of our spiritual selves. Maybe we fast by giving up thoughts that are harmful to us, that drain us of our spiritual and our natural resources. So I thought we could honor the month of love and the season of fasting by zeroing in on the idea of giving up one of the biggest blocks that we all have to being able to love, which is our negativity. If we can do this, we will be opening the door to our happiness and health and harmony in our lives. Now, Unity ministerial teacher, Reverend Robert Brummett, who many of you know, says, love is the power that integrates, actualizes, and balances the soul. Hatred wounds, and separation, it causes the separation between us and God. Love heals and unites us with others and with God. Loving oneself, and that's very important, of course, and loving others is an essential part of becoming whole. And that is the practical reason for loving. By giving up our negativity toward ourselves and other people, we can become whole, what we're supposed to be. Physically, psychologically, and spiritually whole. Becoming whole means being happy. It means being stress-free. It means being truly alive and creative and manifesting all of your 12 powers. It's unblocking and being able to manifest the 12 powers that Charles Fillmore told us are within us all. For example, wisdom, zeal, understanding, strength, order, life, for example. Love heals human relationships. It heals the body. It relieves stress. Love, like hate, is a boomerang. Whatever we send out, it comes back to us. Unity is all about practical spirituality, of course, and loving, truly being able to love everyone unconditionally all the time is about as practical as it gets, and probably about as difficult as it gets. In an article written for New Thought magazine, Unity, of course, is part of the New Thought movement, David MacArthur summarized for us some of the results of the recent research by various scientists on this subject. Some of this research said, first, when we love, the electromagnetic energy generated by the heart changes from a state of chaos into an ordered, harmonious pattern of waves. This ordered pattern, like radio waves, affects every cell in our body. Second finding, when we love, the automatic nervous system that runs the unconscious functions of the body changes from a state of conflict and imbalance into an ordered, efficient, balanced state. Order, of course, is one of the 12 powers that Charles Fillmore tells us is in us all, though we are responsible for helping this order work right. 3, when we love, the rhythms of the heart change by speeding up and slowing down in a very balanced, healthy, and effective manner, reducing stress on the heart and balancing the entire body. And we all know, of course, that stress is the leading cause of all kinds of diseases. 4, when we love, many systems in our bodies that were operating independently of each other begin to function together in a state of order and harmony called entrainment. Again, order restored in us. And 5, when we love, the neurocortex of the brain, where our higher reasoning functions are stored, is stimulated, bringing us the experience of increased mental clarity and more effective reasoning and decision-making power. Bottom line, from a practical point of view, it is vitally important for our well-being that we love. And we have to work at this. You might be thinking, but how do I love a serial killer or my son-in-law who's abusive to my precious daughter? The answer is sure. Accountability and boundaries when people do certain things are necessary. Eliminating them physically from your life might even be indicated, but to permanently hate and reject others in our heart, not fine. Mostly not fine for us. It's usually we who suffer from the burden of that negativity that we are emitting. We can love another's divinity and understand that they are somehow malfunctioning at the moment. We can even pray for them that they may be rehabilitated. We can even have compassion for their predicament and be grateful that we didn't suffer and live through whatever they did that made them that way. Unity co-founder Charles Fillmore described love as one of the 12 spiritual faculties within every single person, thus a fundamental part of who we really are. We need to love. The Jesuit priest and renowned paleontologist Teilhard de Chardin said that energy, I love this, energy is love. He defines love as that cosmic energy that connects and is part of and is the reason for this universe. Both Fillmore and Teilhard say many things about love that tell us how it contributes greatly to our wholeness of mind and body, just like the scientists do now. Both of them describe it as divine energy. Love is divine energy that attracts and harmonizes everything in the universe. Contrary to public thought, they say that love doesn't come from us, it comes through us. Love is when we allow that divine energy, ever present, everywhere, eternal, to operate through us. We just allow it to. It's there. It's who we are. It's all that is. But sometimes we just don't allow it to operate and come through us. Love is that energy which attracts and harmonizes all elements of creation. When asked what was the greatest commandment, Jesus replied, "You shall love the Lord our God with all your soul, with all your heart, and with all your mind. This is the great and first commandment," he said, "and the second is like unto it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself." This teaching in Matthew is underscored in John, where Jesus says, "This is my commandment, that you should love one another as I have loved you." Jesus emphasized the power of love all through his teachings, and he proved it in his life. He lived it. Virtually every spiritual teacher has taught that love is an essential part of becoming whole. Gautama Buddha tells us, and I quote, "As a mother watches over her child, willing to risk her own life to protect her only child, so with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, suffering the whole world with unobstructed, loving kindness." Why is banishing our negativity and learning to love so important? Well, the foundation principle of all unity teachings is that there is only one presence and one power in the universe, and that is God. And God is love. Love is God. Thus, all beings are expressions of this love and are of the same essence. Love is both the recognition and the natural expression of this fundamental principle of oneness that even the quantum physicists are telling us about and has been proven in the last 10 or 20 years. We are all one. And this connecting energy of this oneness, if you will, is love. That's what it is. So it's useless to try to escape from it even. It's fundamentally who we are. We are all love. So how do we let go of our negativity and learn to develop this unconditional love toward our fellow human beings, especially when they trigger us? Dr. Scott Peck, who many of you know, author of the book The Road Less Traveled, says love is a choice. Love is an act of will. We choose to love. We sometimes don't feel it, but we can always choose to act from love. Even if we have strong emotions of anger or judgment or fear, we can choose to act according to the truth principles and wisdom. Dr. Peck also tells us that acting from wisdom and love doesn't mean suppressing or hiding our feelings. This isn't healthy. If it's appropriate, we might even share our feelings with the other person, if we can do so without attacking them or condemning them. We may even ask another to change his or her behavior. That's okay. We may set boundaries. That's okay. We may have to use tough love if the person involved is, say, an alcoholic that the family is trying to help and get to go to rehab or something. Tough love. So love can be seen as a choice, as a conscious act of will. However, it must be remembered that if we experience our true oneness with God, then love is not experienced as a choice. It just flows naturally. It's who and what we are. But for those of us, me included, who are not feeling this oneness with Spirit 24/7 and in all circumstances, maybe during those moments when someone triggers us and we feel anger and judgment, we can at least keep our commitment to our spiritual path by simply making the choice to act in a state of love. Do the right thing. Kind of fake it till you make it sort of thing. So love is often a choice. A second point I'd like to make is that Unity does not say that you should love. Unity doesn't have dogma or shoulds. No guilt trips here. If you can't, don't, or aren't ready to love someone, that's okay. Don't feel guilty about it. In fact, if you choose it out of a sense of guilt or moral obligation, it really isn't love anyway. You aren't a bad person if you don't choose to love, or certainly if you don't feel the love. It isn't a matter of right or wrong or good or bad. The issue is just about the consequences of what you choose. To love has consequences, and not to love has consequences. And those consequences are not a reward or punishment, certainly not from God. They are simply the fulfillment of universal law, what many call karma. As you sow, so shall you reap, it says in the Bible. To choose love is to sow seeds that will bear the fruit of wholeness in your life. Love helps eliminate negative tribulation. Spiritual teachers say that we all get to the point, sooner or later, of being able to love unconditionally in this life, maybe in the next life. What we're talking about here today is easing our suffering about it sooner rather than later. A third point to remember is that loving yourself unconditionally is as critical as learning to love and understand others. Even if feelings of guilt or self-condemnation arise, you can choose to see them exactly as they are, just conditioned beliefs and feelings originating from a long, long time ago in the past, rather than truth. The truth is that you are perfect and divine, even if you have occasionally made bad choices, and hopefully learn from them in this school of life. This is a school. We're not going to make 100 on every single test from kindergarten through college. No matter how much we study and learn, we'll never be able to adequately, of course, define love. But we can see the expression of it: empathy, compassion, and forgiveness. Unconditional acceptance of ourselves and others, for example. So there are ways we can choose to manifest love, even if we don't always feel it in our hearts. We can choose empathy, compassion, forgiveness, and unconditional acceptance of ourselves and others. That is the choice. Now, I'd like to talk with you about something that's not so much just the practical aspect of love, and look at what love really is on the absolute plane. We're all about practical spirituality here, but it certainly helps to understand what's behind it on the absolute plane. As we said before, God is love. That's what God is. Love is the primordial connecting energy that we are all made of. We are all part of this primordial glue, so to speak, this universal matrix. Jesus said, "I and the Father are one." The Bible says, "Ye are gods." Thus, we are all one with this universal energy that binds us together. We're all in that. And that glue that binds us is love. To try to separate ourselves from it won't work. But to think in terms of our separateness is possible, as we all know, though it creates chaos and tribulation every time in our bodies and in our minds. So we can think separation from this all. We'll never, in fact, be separate. Getting back to Source or God in our minds is getting back to the kingdom of heaven. as Jesus called it, or the promised land, as Moses called it, or our higher self, as is sometimes is termed in popular parlance. It's that state wherein we access the absolute connectedness that we are all part of. We're never a part of it in reality, but we can participate in the illusion of being separate from this all or God. We can think we're out there someplace which doesn't exist, but in fact we're not. And that is when we usually start suffering. The thing to realize is that there really aren't two worlds or two levels of reality. Sometimes out of efficiency, we talk about the absolute and the physical world, the relative world, as if they were two different things. That's a way to grasp certain concepts. But in reality, there is only one. There's the oneness of all life. Humans have divided the one into these two levels. And because humans have separated in their minds from this one, humans needed a word for it. And they created a word for it, the absolute and the relative. We then started referring to the material world and the absolute world, like there were two different things. But what we created in our minds is pure illusion or Maya. It's like the illusion, of two parallel train tracks. You've all been exposed to that. You look at it, and in the far distance, those two parallel train tracks, seem to merge and become one. The illusion is not out there, though. The illusion is due to our faults and limited understanding and view of the perfectly parallel tracks. To see truth is the same way. We must dispel the illusion in our minds. There is no absolute and finite or physical world. There is but one world, and that is divine. There is only one power and one presence in the universe. There is no enemy out there. There is no chaos out there to hate or judge. There is only we. The Bible says, love your enemies. Bless them who curse you. Do good to them who hate you. And pray for them who spitefully use you and persecute you. These words express the understanding of your oneness with the person you are trying to forgive. Your oneness with this all that you are a part of, and they are too. You understand that this person, as an illusion, seems to be appearing as a persecutor or hater or enemy in some form, but the fact is this person is a part of you, the divine all. As A Course in Miracles says, there is never really anything to forgive, only the Christ presence to be spiritually discerned by us. Reverend Brummett says, disastrous persons and events will continue to appear until we attain a realization of the true nature of reality, which is God. If we temporarily view ourselves and God as two instead of one, we will continue to manifest tribulations in our minds. So there is only one power and one presence in the universe, God, and God is love. So the reality is that there is nothing to strive for in terms of love. We need only open up to it, what is already there that we're blocking. We need to remove those blocks, which are fear and hatred and judgment. In terms of events out there that we hate and fear, Reverend Brummett says what we call the outer world may seem like chaos at times. What we call the outer world is something that we, though, must learn to dance with. We must learn to dance with this chaos that we have created in our minds and make order of it. Dance with the chaos, the only dance there is, as Ram Dass says. Our human minds can create the illusion of perfectly parallel train tracks merging in the distance. Or we can even imagine a sky out there in the distance, sitting on a mountaintop, waiting to topple. We can create the illusion of bad people to hate. But in truth, this is all illusion. The train tracks are perfectly parallel out there. The world is ultimately in divine order. That hated person is just in the school of life learning as we all are. Our job is to open our minds until we have verified this truth for ourselves. Just open up. Try to open it a little bit and leave a little room to see things differently. If you've ever become friends with a former enemy, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So, during the Lenten season, just give it a try. Try to see through your negativity. Try to see the people and the situations out there that you've projected that negativity onto. And try to open your mind to the possibility that it's all in divine order. This releasing of negative feelings about others and outer events opens you up to the reality of your oneness with them. It connects you with the oneness of all life, God, the divine matrix, spirit, the good, this quantum energy that the quantum physics are talking about so much. And this oneness is love. That's the glue of it. God is love. And this love will then free you from all kinds of seeming tribulations. In reality, the tribulations aren't there. This is the meaning of the first commandment, actually. Thou shalt have no other gods before you. This belief in duality, a world of God and a separate world where evil and sin exist, that is the physical world, is the belief in another God. There is only one presence and one power in the universe, and that is God, and God is love. So during Lent, make a special effort to stay open to that truth so that life's illusions won't seem so real. This teaching is profound, and one I know which some people prefer to put on the back burner for a while, and that's fine. But I don't want to get so practical about our need for love that we forget the metaphysical and spiritual truth behind the concept, because if you keep that in mind, it's sort of like, you know, intellectually, no matter what you're seeing about those train tracks seeming to merge, you know in your mind they're not merging, they're parallel out there. And this is the same way. If you just keep truth in your mind, it helps a lot when you're making choices and things are triggering you. So during Lent, concentrate on seeing your negative feelings toward people and events as possible illusions of what really is, so that you can start letting go of these illusions and be free. Start being present to the fact that the glue that holds this universe, this divine matrix that we're all a part of together and connects it all, is love. This truth is the truth that will set you free. As it says in Philippians 2:5, Let the same mind be in you that was in Jesus Christ. Thus, at Easter, you too will resurrect. You'll be able to resurrect as your divine self and enjoy the kingdom of heaven here on earth. The secret is love. Just remember, L-E-N-T, Lent. Love eliminates negative tribulations, and you all certainly do deserve that. Thank you.